Here back with another review, and today we're going to talk about a review Days of Thunder from 1990. And this was a request that was submitted by wildmanbeyond. Thank you again, wildmanbeyond, for the request. And this was fun to watch again. Uh, it stars Tom Cruise. You also have Robert Duvall in the film, Randy Quaid, Nicole Kidman, and directed by Tony Scott. And the plot here, real quick. So I'm just going to read off kind of a nutshell plot. But you have Cole Trickle in the film, who is played by Tom Cruise. He's recruited by NASCAR after an open wheel success, and he's paired with this crew chief, Harry, who is played by Robert Duvall. And he's sort of navigating through a difficult rookie season. And at the same time, he's trying to, build chemistry with the team and find success. And that is the plot here to the film. And again, the film came out in 1990, and by this point, director Tony Scott had directed a few movies. Top Gun, which is a classic, Beverly Hills Cop 2, which I do enjoy. That I would say I prefer the first one a little bit more, but the second one is still a good follow-up sequel. He also directed this film called Revenge, starring Kevin Costner, which I've heard about but haven't seen. Uh, of course, he would go on to direct The Last Boy Scout, Crimson Tide, uh, The Taken of Pelham 123, the remake that came out back in, I think, in like 2008 or 9. He directed Unstoppable with Denzel, which I think was one of the last movies that Tony Scott did. And it's unfortunate that we don't have, a guy like that around still. And I just really miss Tony Scott. You know, it, I mean, I just naming off some of those movies that he directed. You know, they're all great movies. And again, we don't have a director like that anymore that is that consistent. Uh, and when you're watching a Tony Scott movie, you look at Top Gun, you look at, Beverly Hills Cop 2, you look at The Last Boy Scout, you look at Crimson Tide, and so much more. And again, it's just unfortunate that we don't have, a director like that anymore, that brings a lot of energy to a movie. The film was written by Robert Towne and the story was provided by Tom Cruise. The cast here is very solid. You got Tom Cruise again as Cole Trickle, who's this hotshot driver. Um, Again, unpredictable kind of character, but Tom Cruise, again, and by this point, he had worked with again Tony Scott on Top Gun, and he had done quite a few movies before this film here. But Tom Cruise, I mean, he's well on his way. Just a year or two later, he would be in A Few Good Men. And he brings, to me, I think he brings a lot of charisma to the film here as this character. And I know there's talks that maybe they're going to do a sequel. I think maybe Tom Cruise wants to do it, but, or there might be some kind of crossover with the F1 movie with Brad Pitt. Like, I know that's kind of been thrown around as an idea for a sequel, where they might cross over F1 in this movie. I don't know how that's going to work, but, Tom Cruise, I do like Tom Cruise. I understand, and not a lot of people don't, and I can understand why. But for entertainment, I mean, for providing entertainment, he is one of the last, you know, true actors out there, and he's good in the film here. Then Nicole Kidman, who plays this neosurgeon, Dr. Claire. I do like Nicole Kidman. I know, I know, her and Tom Cruise, had done Eyes Wide Shut later, and they do have good chemistry in the film. But for me, if there's a little bit of a negative that I have with the film, I don't think the romance is all that interesting. Again, I like the actors. I don't think it's their fault, but I don't think for me a lot of the romance in the film doesn't really do much for me, and that's more so like in the second act. But I could see where they have a chemistry. Robert Duvall, as the crew chief Harry. Uh, to me, he's the VIP of the film. Like, Tom Cruise is good, but I think Robert Duvall definitely brings a lot of heart to the film. And just prior to this, he was in Lonesome Dove, great actor. And, while you could say Tom Cruise, he's good in the film, but, for me, Robert Duvall, he definitely brings a lot of heart to the film as this character that, you know, is trying to work with Tom Cruise. In the beginning, it's kind of, you know, a rough start, but as the film continues, they really build a rapport. You have Randy Quaid as this character, this race team owner, and he's good in the film. Cary Elwes from The Princess Bride, he would kind of be a fill-in for Tom Cruise's character in the film because he gets injured like halfway through the film, and then later he becomes a rival. Uh, and Cary Elwes is good. Michael Rooker, he's the current champ in the beginning, and he's Tom Cruise's his character's first rival, and they end up becoming friends. Later on in the film, John C. Riley is in the film for a little bit. So again, you have a very solid cast. I think the score by Hans Zimmer is really fun. The racing scenes I thought were well shot. Again, I really enjoyed the characters. I talked about the characters some, but yeah, again, the cast overall with Duvall for me being the VIP of the cast, it's very solid. The pacing, I thought it moved at a good pace here. Tony Scott's direction is very energetic here in the film. Again, when you're watching a Tony Scott movie because you can feel the energy of the direction, and it just moves at a fast pace. And like I said, even though the middle of the film with the romance subplot, I didn't really care much for that. It doesn't ruin the film for me, but it's just one of those things that uh, I could have done without it. And again, it's not the fault of the actors. I think they have a good chemistry, but it wasn't really necessary to have that kind of, to have that relationship, between the driver and the neurosurgeon. But it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, I think I covered quite a bit here. But overall, at the end of the day, yeah, Days of Thunder, it's a very solid, I think, entertaining movie that, it's just a lot of fun to watch. And again, credit to the cast, credit to the direction by Tony Scott and Hans Zimmer's score. And the Mellow Yellow logo on the car, really enjoyed that. And you could probably see it a little bit. But yeah, I would say watching this again, I would, for me, I like Tom Cruise again. I understand not a lot of people like Tom Cruise. I can understand, but I mean, just look at his career. He's done quite a number of films that I've really enjoyed. From Top Gun to, Few Good Men, Collateral. Even though I haven't seen all of the Mission Impossible movies, but as an entertainer, I am a fan. And I would say for me, this is one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies. Um, I mean, if you compare it to, let's say A Few Good Men, of course, it's not on that level. But I mean, again, I still find some entertainment with this movie. I don't know what it is. I mean, again, I think it's just the cast and the direction and the score and the racing scenes. But yeah, thank you again, Wildman Beyond, for the request here. It was a lot of fun to rewatch again. It's a very good to entertaining movie. I do think it's a bit underrated. And again, thank you, Wildman Beyond, for the request. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.